Rebel religion in the news.
And good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to Rebel Religion in the News. Jerry O'Lennon, along with Pastor Alfredo Romero of Rock of Life Fellowship. Father's Day is this weekend.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about fatherhood. We did a little bit of that last week, but fathers get a bad deal in the media.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think it's, some of it could be fun, but we were going through looking at some of the examples. I mean, let me ask you, have you ever watched, and I have to admit I have, I've watched Family Guy and Peter. You know, he comes across as a doofus. Homer, doofus.
Yeah.
Everybody Loves Raymond. Lovable but incompetent.
Yeah. Yeah. The wife rules the house. Yeah.
Wife runs the household. These characters are usually contrasted with capable, intelligent mothers.
Yes.
Yeah, who hold the family together. What kind of damage is this kind of thing? We're going to go through some more examples during the morning, but what kind of damage does this do when when your church at Rock of Life Fellowship, do you ever see, I know you don't want to mention names, but do you ever see examples of this?
Yeah. I remember when Bob and Sally walked in. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
No. Yeah. I've actually done messages on this around Father's Day and other times too about the roles of a man and a woman. And I have seen, I can't even count how many articles I've read or stories I've seen on how media portrays dads.
Yeah.
And they're always unintelligent. And if you look at the big picture, there are different groups out there that are actually trying to break down what they call the traditional family. Mm-hmm. There's groups out there that say they want to break down the nuclear family, the fathers, the roles of fathers and moms, and you can see how media's portrayed moms in an ungodly sight and dads in an ungodly sight because God has definite roles for men and women, moms and dads. Mm-hmm. And you could see how the media is trying to flip everything, and it's always against the dad.
Is it a case where sometimes maybe the mother wants to take a dominant role and the damage that could cause to the family, or is it okay for the mother at times to do that, but not at the expense of the father? That's what it seems like. That seems to be what happens when you're watching culture.
Yeah.
Because when you watch Peter's wife, I can't remember her wife's name.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. But
that's a good question.
She's very competent.
Yeah, right.
And same with Homer. I think it's Marge. I think is the
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's very smart. Runs things very well. And I've never watched Everybody Loves Raymond.
I did. I watched every single episode, every single season.
What was the mother's name?
Well, that was portrayed by Patricia Heaton. And what was it? Raymond? I forget the woman's name. But I watched every episode. Yeah. But she had a famous way to describe her husband Raymond. And it was idiot.
Yeah.
Every time he did something that she didn't like or he showed himself to be a real doofus, she'd go, idiot. Yeah.
And what a difference from the days of the 50s, even the 60s. I mean, I'm sure there were some shows in the 60s. I keep thinking of the 50s because the ones I used to watch, reruns of Andy Griffith.
That's all 60s, yeah.
Yeah, Dick Van Dyke was, that was more of an even relationship between him and Mary Tyler Moore. They had kind of they had kind of an even-handed relationship, but he was the man of the house, but she was a strong woman. And so that worked out
Rob
well.
and Laura Petrie, there you go.
Yeah, Rob and Laura, and then Father Knows Best, and when Ozzie and Harriet. Ozzie was kind of a silly guy, but he still had a firm hand on things. My Three Sons.
Oh, I loved My Three Sons. Fred McMurray. William Demarest. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was always a strong male character.
And to credit too to those, they always had strong female roles too.
Yes, they did.
They did. They had strong. Like I remember watching Father Knows Best, and
I want to say it was Barbara Billingsley, but I don't think that's
Barbara Billingsley was Leave It to Beaver.
Leave It to Beaver.
A very wise, strong woman. It's not like the women were subjugated to stay in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant.
Right.
They were very, very strong women. But the difference now is that back then the difference is there were defined roles. Mm-hmm. The dad was the protector, the provider. The hunter-gatherer, and the mom was was leading the household and managing children, and they had jobs as well, and there was different things, but there was defined roles. Today, everything is flip flopped, and it's not just they flip flop the roles; they make the dads look like
fools.
like fools.
Some of the other things, the father is kind of an absentee or peripheral father, and maybe an example might be Glee or Gilmore Girls. The father's role is sort of minimized. He's completely absent. Fathers may appear only occasionally or serve as a narrative background noise. The other one is, I think we mentioned this a little bit, single mother heroism. Movies and shows may glorify the single mom narrative, and some of the examples I see online. The movie The Blind Side,
Yeah.
Aaron Brockovich, and they don't even acknowledge that there's not a father there.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes it's just like the father,
Just not there.
not there, and it makes you, and sometimes it's not. It's almost like, well, that's normal.
Yeah. Yeah, and since I'm talking about roles, my wife and I have been well, we're going to watch a whole lot of TV, but when we do, we see these commercials. Like there's a fabric softener commercial, or a dish soap commercial, and the dad's in the kitchen and he's washing the dishes and he's making breakfast for the kids, and the mom, this is a true commercial, has a briefcase in her hand, walking out the door, saying goodbye to the kids, and the dad's in there washing the dishes and making the breakfast. And now, not that I'm saying that there's anything wrong with that in situations. Of course not. But what I'm saying is there's just different roles.
Wasn't that long? I think it was 1980s or 90s. Remember the movie Mr. Mom?
Oh, yes.
Michael Keaton and Terry Garr.
Yes.
And Terry Garr, by the way, my wife has no problem with this. I had a huge crush on Terry Garr my whole life.
Yeah, since Young Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah, she was so cute. No, yeah, I just liked her a lot. She has great personality as well. She passed away recently.
Yeah, from MS, actually.
Oh, well, she was a
struggled with
wonderful
that
woman.
the last 15 years or so.
Yeah, she was a wonderful woman.
Yeah.
And anyway, and wonderful actress, too. But in that movie, Michael Keaton loses his job, and they don't have any money, so the wife has to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
And they just reverse roles. And back then, that was like, wow, what a concept.
Yeah.
The wife is going to go to work, and he's going to be at Mr. Mom and stay-at-home dad and take care of things. And it was just so, I mean, it's hard to believe that movie could never be made today.
No,
It would
especially
be-
the ending.
The ending, I think they went back to their previous.
She decided when he came up and found out that there was fraud in his company, that's why he was let go, and he went back in and got his job back. And she was very successful in the corporate world, climbed the ladder very quick with Martin Mull. Not to spoil the ending, but at the ending she goes, "You know what, honey? This just isn't right for me."
Yeah.
And she goes back to, "I want to be a mom," and he goes, "Yeah, I want to be a dad," and that. You could not make that movie today.
No, you couldn't. And it's a
not.
shame because I don't want it. We don't have any women on the set right now, so it's not really fair. But and my wife, your wife works.
Sure.
My
And-
wife
yeah,
works.
sure.
And we have to do that because in today's day and age, especially living in California,
Yeah.
everybody has to work nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not going to, there's so many facets to this. I want to make sure I just quickly acknowledge, I do understand that there's homes where the mom has to have that role.
Right,
The
of
dad's
course.
absent. I was raised for a while by a single mom
Somebody maybe widowed.
that widowed, or just the dad didn't fulfill his role and took
Right.
off. Just was not a godly man.
Right.
So I understand that there's times where the women have to do that. But we're talking about what's God's plan, which says this works best for the family I created, where the father's that hunter, that gatherer, that provider, that protector, and the mom is that heart of the home, that helpmate, that equal, in a sense, a partner with the husband, but with just different roles. And it works best for the kids. And you can look at all the statistics you want, but there is a godly plan to the role of a mom and a dad that works the best. You can't come up with a better plan. So I just want to, shout out to women, because my mom for a while was forced
Right.
to be a single mom. And she did great. She worked, she took care of the kids and everything. But would I've wanted my dad with me during those years? Oh, yes.
Yeah, and it's really not that unusual. I mean, there were women in the workplace on a regular basis, and I certainly in the '60s, and maybe not as much in the '50s. I don't really know, but I didn't live out. But I mean, I lived in the '60s. My mom had a job working in an office in the '70s, and our neighbors did as well. So
Yeah.
it's not completely it wasn't, of course, we're going back 60 years. Things certainly were different. Children's books and cartoons is another area.
Oh yeah.
Popular cartoons, Finding Nemo or The Lion King, feature dead or absentee parents,
Yeah.
but especially the mother is revered or remembered, while the father's absence is often glossed over or framed as a growth opportunity. This is interesting because we could say that about Mary and Joseph.
Yeah. Possibly. Yeah.
Jesus did not have. Well, we don't know. He had a father figure certainly up till he
Yes,
was
he
12
did.
years
Yeah, he
old.
did.
We know that because he went to the temple. I think he was 12 or 13. I don't was that
Yeah, it's 12. Yeah.
so we do know he had a father figure, but it was never emphasized in what Joseph did to provide. And I kind of think that's unfortunate.
The Bible talks very little about Joseph, the
Right.
earthly father of Jesus. I think the last time we hear about him is when he's looking for Jesus in the temple, and he's not there at Jesus' ministry or the crucifixion.
I don't want to say that God made a mistake. I don't want to say that. I don't
course
mean to
not.
say that.
No.
But I wonder, it's probably because Jesus' father was God in heaven, but I wonder if whether or not it would have been good to have Joseph be a good shining example of the way a father should take care of a child, a human child that Jesus was.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just wondering if that not that God made a mistake. I don't want to be zapped
No,
right
of
now,
course not.
but I'm just wondering if that would have been a benefit in some way.
Well, the purpose of not having Joseph there was to put the emphasis on God the Father.
I think so.
God the Father.
Yes.
God the Father. My Father in heaven. Didn't you know I'd be in my Father's house?
Yeah.
The Son of God, the Son of God. So although Joseph had his role in the beginning, there was that point where there was the emphasis where Jesus was saying, God is my Father.
Well, the idea we do know that Joseph was a carpenter, wasn't
Yes,
he?
yes.
So it stands to reason that Joseph taught Jesus how to be a carpenter.
And Jesus was a carpenter, yes.
So there is some sort of relationship that was existed between the two, because how did Jesus learn to be a carpenter other than, I mean, they didn't have a university there. They didn't have any tech schools, I don't think. I'm sure he learned it from his father.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there was an important role of Joseph in the beginning, yes.
Yeah, we are going to step aside. We'll be back with more Rebel Religion in the News, talking about fathers. Father's Day is coming up Sunday, June 14th. Don't forget about dear old dad, okay?
Yeah,
We'll
please.
be right back.
Rebel religion in the news. Rebel religion in the news.
Hey, welcome back to Rebel Religion News. We've been talking about fathers, and I just wanted to make a quick note here for people that this podcast is shown on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in Rebel Religion the News. You can see this podcast, and you can see all the other ones in the past as well. Please do the whole thing, like, subscribe, comment, whether you agree or disagree. But I also want to tell you that June's a very hard month for my family. My dad's birthday is June 13th, and he passed away in 2018. He passed away on June the 4th. On June the 4th, my dad passed away. June 13th is his birthday, and then a week later, it's Father's Day. So it's very difficult because my father, I mentioned early in my life, was kind of absent when my parents got divorced when I was about 3, 4, but came back into my life later on as a teenager. And it's just the best dad. I could not ask for a better father. He was great. He was wonderful, godly man, completely changed his life around. And I just wanted to mention that for those people that don't have a dad, an earthly dads or absent or maybe not the dad you need, that's the point where in the Bible we were talking earlier that God the Father takes that place. He could be that father that you've missed. And God can also put father figures in your life. Like my grandfather was a father to, when he got married, to children that weren't his blood. He just took on the role of father to probably 5 different, adult kids in his life. And it's never too late to be a really good father.
Why do you think that the culture does like to? Is it something nefarious, like some sort of ploy to destroy the family? We're gonna make fun of dads, or is it just maybe lazy screenwriting? Where it's like, we don't want to make fun of the mother. We got to make fun of somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's not nefarious as sometimes we like to make it out to be. But either way, maybe the end result either way is negative, is it not?
Yeah, it's negative. The big picture. If you talk to any well, almost any pastor, there is definitely a spiritual attack against the family unit that God created. And if you're going to go after something, you go after the head, you go after the leader, and that's the father. So yes, there is a spiritual concerted effort by the enemy to take down dads. You take down dads. You could. Oh, I can go back to statistics again. You take the father out of the home, and you can have the most valiant, most wonderful mom that takes on different roles, but it doesn't work as well as a godly father and a godly mother in a home. And the devil knows that. He knows that. So look at all the statistics, and I'm not going to quote them because sometimes people will challenge me on it. Look up the statistics for yourself about how important the role of a father is in the home. Matter of fact, there are numbers and statistics that show that and you look them up, you can fact check me, but a mother and a father in a home are very important to children. Now, take the dad out of the home, and then you can see the percentage of the chances of dropping out of school, getting into trouble, using drugs, early pregnancy, all these different issues. And so just look at those. Not that there's not some successful, like my mom, she was very successful in raising us up. I never got into trouble, drugs, alcohol, things like that. But just look at statistics. If you're on the minimum side of 18% of the households without a dad and only a mom have this success rate, but look them up, see the importance of a father in a home. It's just the way God built it.
You know music more than I do, pop culture music.
Sure.
There's some songs about problematic fathers.
Yeah.
Songs like Tupac's "Dear Mama," Kelly
Yeah.
Clarkson's "Because of You," which address father absence or disappointment, contributing to a cultural narrative where dad issues are normalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, movies do the same thing. Disney's famous for absentee parents and fathers. I remember there was a movie called Jack Frost with Michael Keaton quite a few years ago, probably early 2000s.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you remember within 10 minutes of the movie, this great dad, wonderful dad, they off him. They kill him.
Yeah, but he comes back as
Jack Frost.
Jack Frost.
But the point is they kill the dad. Yeah. And then in most Disney movies they off the mom or they off the dad. I can't think of a two-parent really good Disney movie. Matter of fact, Sleeping Beauty, I think with Aurora, I think they killed her parents in a shipwreck or something. But they cannot name me a Disney movie where there's a father and a mom both raising the children, and there might be one or two.
Yeah.
But the preponderance of it is off the parent.
Well, there are some. It's not always negative. There are some positive father figures. Some of the ones I look online. The Pursuit of Happiness, which I didn't see, came out in 2006. Will Smith plays a single father who sacrifices and a single father.
Yeah.
Perseveres through homelessness to build a better life for his son.
Yeah.
Some of these things I never heard of. This Is Us, an NBC series. I never heard of this.
I don't recommend that. My wife started to watch it and shut it off. It's just not a good show.
Okay.
But I understand but they had a father figure in there.
Yeah. I'll tell you a movie that was really good.
Sure.
Parenthood. Did you ever see Parenthood?
Yes. Now that was made in the 80s.
It was made in the 80s.
But with the Steve Martin and
Diane Wiest was in it.
Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah.
Jason Robards.
Jason Robards
Great
was in
cast.
it.
Rick Moranis.
Yeah, and who's I guess you can't remember. He was in Speed.
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, one of his
And
first
River
roles.
Phoenix. Yeah.
River Phoenix is in it.
Yeah.
It's a great movie, and it's one that puts a good light on fathers.
And also, that great actor, what's his name? He was in Gladiator. He's the Joker. Joaquin Phoenix is in it as well.
Is he in that as well?
Yes, he's in that as well. He plays the young son
Okay.
with the curly hair. Yeah, they were both in there. It was just a crazy movie. The cast was just unbelievable.
Oh, okay. All right. But yeah, that was that actually presented parents, fathers, in a
Yes.
really good light.
Yeah.
Except one of the kids who acted, I think was it Tom Holtz? I think.
Yeah,
was-
Tom Hulse, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of a loser, and
Yeah, getting
but
it-
the dad steps up to the plate, and I'll never forget the one thing that Jason Robards said to Steve Martin. Jason Robards was the father of Steve Martin.
Yes, yes.
And I always remembered this. And I know what you're going to say. He's going to say about how life is a roller coaster.
Yes, that's the
That's
greatest line in the movie.
Would you rather be on a merry-go-round, or would you rather be on a roller coaster?
Yeah.
How would you like your life to be?
Yeah, and that's the grandma, the senile grandma.
Right.
And she comes out, and the wife and the husband are just big argument. Yeah, well, life is crazy. It's supposed to be hard. Well, I just want it to be easy once in a while. And all of a sudden, the grandma goes, when I was a child,
Yeah.
we used to go to the carnival.
And they said, "Oh, come on, Grandma, shut up." I
Yeah,
don't wanna
shut up,
hear-
grandma.
yeah.
Oh, and then the dad's rolling his eyes. Oh, God, here, what are we going to do now? We're going to hear about the 1930s again.
Yeah.
And it's just basically, she says, some kids liked to go on the merry-go-round. It was safe. A little boring, but I like the roller coaster. It had its ups and downs and excitement.
Yeah.
And then she kind of walks out. I'll meet you guys
And
outside.
then Mary Steenburgen says, "That is one of the smartest things I've ever heard."
Yeah, and then Steve Martin says, "Well, if your mother's so smart, why is she sitting in the neighbor's car?"
It's a great Parenthood, great movie.
Great movie.
The scene I wanted to real quickly mention was that Jason Robart is talking to Steve Martin. He's like really frustrated because he's having trouble with one of his kids, and who's having some issues. And Jason Robart says, you never cross the goal line and spike the ball.
Yeah.
It never happens. It's never like you're done. You're a father until the day you take your last breath.
Yeah.
And if and I find that to be true. My kids are adults, but it doesn't matter. Same kids, different problems. Different, not problems so much as issues that they have to deal with in
it's
life.
just life's issues. And God even says, look, in this life, you're going to have trials and tribulations, but fear not. It's count it all joy. It's the testing of your faith and your perseverance.
It's a challenge. I sometimes I hear people, and sometimes I'll go, that person doesn't have any kids, must have an easy life. But you know what? Not experiencing fatherhood. I mean, that's the greatest joy anybody can, that I could ever experience.
My wife, my marriage, and then all of a sudden my kids. It's the greatest thing ever to be a parent. And I know at times we had, there's tough endings that sometimes we, our fathers, end up. My dad, we were talking in the room. He lived with me at the time, and he was 78 and looked great and everything, but we never saw the heart attack coming. And he was giving me all props for. I was working for Franklin Graham, and all of a sudden he just said, "Son, I don't feel good," and he had a massive heart attack right in front of me and died in my arms. Yeah. And I think that's an honor. It was an honor to be with my dad.
Now you have. We only have like a minute and a half left in the show. I'm speaking to Alfredo Romero, Rock of Life Fellowship. If I don't get it in, I want to be sure to mention their service time is at 10 o'clock Sunday morning. Will you have any kind of discussion or any kind of tribute to fathers on Father's Day on Sunday?
Yeah, we do. Well, every Father's Day is Mother's Day. We do honor Mother's Day is highly, highly attended, third best in the year.
Behind
Christmas and Easter.
Easter, yeah.
Father's Day is lightly attended. So I'm inviting all the dads out to Rocket Life Fellowship. Wives, bring your husbands, and kids, bring your dads. It's because it's Dad's Day. They want to sleep in. I want to go fishing. I want to watch the game.
Yeah.
But we do. We always mention it. Sometimes I'll do a complete sermon, or otherwise I'll just take a few minutes to acknowledge. But I will this Sunday. My message is basically what we talked about earlier, how no matter what kind of father you grew up with, our focus is our Heavenly Father. And what role does God have in our life as Father? Now, there's Jesus and the Holy Spirit, but I'll specifically be talking about God the Father. And just let people know that no matter what kind of earthly dad you had, good, bad, in between, we can rely and we'll never be let down by our Heavenly Father.
So I think sometimes the best kind of father is sort of the kind of like Gary Cooper, the strong, silent type.
Oh, yeah.
Just hang tight.
Yeah. I liked Robert Young from Father Knows Best.
He was kind of that way, too.
He's always calm, always in control, and he had some fire in him. But I remember those old shows. Billy Chapin and Eleanor Donahue and
Yeah.
what's her name, Wyatt?
I could still watch that show.
I could.
I can still watch that show.
I watch it
when it's on MeTV and I happen to be flipping around and it's on, I watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Alfredo, thank you so much. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Happy
Take
Father's
good
Day.
care, everybody. We'll talk to you next time here on Rebel Religion in the News. We're on YouTube, by the way. Just go to Rebel Religion in the News and look us up and give us a like and whatever you have to do to
subscribe and comment.
Subscribe and yeah, we want your comments. We'll mention them. Thank you so much, everybody. So long.
God bless you.
Rebel religion